Et bonjour à toutes et à tous, c'est Munchi, j'espère que vous allez bien, on se retrouve pour un nouvel épisode sur The Forgotten City. Alors je m'excuse d'abord par avance pour ceux qui suivent cette série, cette série plutôt RP, car effectivement il y a plein de jeux qui sont sortis récemment, que ce soit Elden Ring, que ce soit la fin de War Tales, que ce soit Monster Hunter Rise, que ce soit mon SP qui commence sur Battle Brother également, ce qui fait que ça a impacté pas mal, même les petites découvertes indépendantes ici et là, ce qui fait que je me suis un peu engouffré dans une boucle chronophage. Et que j'ai pas eu le temps de faire autant de Forgotten City que je voudrais, parce qu'en plus il est excellent le jeu, hein. C'est ça qui m'emmerde un petit peu. Mais bon, je vais essayer, promis, je vais essayer de ressortir des vidéos un peu plus régulières sur ce jeu. Par contre, ça sera au défaut également de Prey for the Gods, que pareil, je joue pas autant que je voudrais, hein. Donc voilà, donc je vous prie de m'excuser par avance là-dessus, mais c'est vrai que là, je priorise plutôt Elden Ring. Car le jeu, je vous assure, j'ai envie de jouer qu'à ça en fait, et j'ai pas trop envie de jouer à Forgotten City en ce moment. Enfin, si vous êtes joueur comme moi, vous devez me comprendre, hein. Il y a des jeux, parfois vous aimez bien jouer à tel jeu, mais après vous avez du mal à retourner sur les autres, enfin c'est normal, c'est humain, hein. Donc voilà, donc là, je vous avoue que là, je me force un peu à le relancer, car là j'ai qu'une envie, c'est de jouer à Elden Ring, mais bon, il faut quand même que je fasse plaisir à tout le monde. Donc écoutez, j'espère que ça va pas entacher mon plaisir de jouer là-dessus, je vais continuer à faire de manière RP. Sachant que là, je me souviens plus trop de ce qui s'est passé l'épisode précédent. Je sais qu'on avait réussi à aller au palais. On avait parlé à... par contre, le nom de la personne qui se trouvait là-bas, je me rappelle plus. Mais je sais qu'on a réussi à s'en sortir, qu'elle nous fait confiance. Donc on a appris un peu ce qui se tramait, notamment avec ces statues dorées. En fait, c'est des personnes qui sont en dessous, c'est ce qu'on a appris. Des vraies personnes qui demandent qu'à mourir au final, hein, parce qu'en fait, elles sont condamnées. Quand on essaie de retirer la dorure, en fait, on retire la peau, finalement, elles ne font plus qu'un. Donc voilà, c'est très très bizarre. Maintenant, on repart un peu à zéro dans nos indices, donc on va essayer de voir ce qu'on peut faire, par la suite. Allez, c'est parti. Bon, je vais retourner voir Luvinia pour lui dire que le remède est l'écorce de saule, toujours. En tout cas, sacrée expédition dans ce palais.
Feeling all right?
J'ai trouvé le remède contre les rhumatismes, Lucretia.
You made it into the palace. I'm impressed. How is Navy?
Navia, elle est en vie, hein, mais elle souhaite qu'on la laisse tranquille, et le traitement, c'est de l'écorce de saule.
We look back. I should have known. It was under my nose the whole time. That's very helpful. Thank you. If this works, it should settle Rufius down some. I have some right here. Could you do me a favor and give him some of this? He'll just need to swallow a pinch of it. I'm hoping it will avert disaster.
Merci, Lucretia. Bien sûr que je vais m'en charger.
Thank you. I'm really glad you arrived when you did.
Je m'en vais.
It's a shame. Thanks again.
Ok, bon. Faut vraiment que je trouve un moyen de l'empêcher de se suicider avec Ulpius, et ça on verra ça une prochaine fois. Bon, il est où Jean-Michel? Bon, où est ce Rufus par contre? Je vais continuer à explorer le marché, il doit pas être bien loin, hein. Oui, bien sûr. Il est vrai que j'ai sauvé les miches de la boulangère. Par contre, je ne sais pas où elle est. Une liste de courses. Ouais. Rien de très intéressant.
Salve, Dooley. How are you doing today?
I'm sad.
Qu'est-ce qui se raconte, Gaelius?
I don't think so, my friend. It's election day today. Perhaps our new magistrate will be kinder than Sentius and let you out.
I hope so. Galerius, what happens when you die?
You're not going to die anytime soon, Dooley.
My mother told me, when you die, a ferryman helps you cross a river, and your spirit lives on in the underworld. Is that true?
Well, yes, but
Is it true that if you were good, you get to go to Elysium, but if you were bad, you get punished forever and ever in Tartarus.
Something like that, but
If I die and go to Tartarus, because they say I've been bad.
I'm not going to let that happen to you, Dooley. I promise.
Thank you, Galerius. Thank you.
Now, I have more work to do, but I'll visit you again soon, all right?
All right, Galerius. See you then.
Salve again, friend. I went and did as you asked, and it worked. How is it possible that you've just arrived here and you already know everyone and exactly what's about to happen to them?
Honnêtement, si je te le disais, tu me croiras jamais, Galerius.
Oh, come on. I just did as you asked. The least you can do is level with me.
Très bien, bon bah, je revis le même jour encore et encore.
You're toying with me, right? Wait, you're not kidding, are you? That's the only way you could have known. You're a bit like... Oh, what was his name? Sisyphus. Yeah, that's the one. Old King Sisyphus.
Comme si, comment ça?
Sisyphus was a Greek king a long time ago. For daring to think he could outsmart the gods, he was given a terrible punishment. He was forced to push a great boulder up to the top of a hill. Only, just as it reached the top, it would roll all the way back down to the bottom, forcing him to start over and over and over again, for all eternity. Just like you. Actually, now that I think about it, there are a bunch of old stories about the gods punishing people by making them do the same futile task over and over. Tantalus was made to grasp at fruit on a tree he could never
Ouais,
reach.
sympa ta métaphore qui pue.
Melodies had to keep fetching water in a sieve. Oh, and Ixion was strapped to a wheel going round and round forever. But on the bright side, at least you're not stuck in the underworld like they all were. Anyway, I don't know which god you managed to upset to get yourself into this position, friend, but you seem all right to me. So, I'll tell you what. I'll keep doing whatever I can to help you. And you just focus on finding a way to break the cycle you're in.
Merci Galerius, t'es quelqu'un de bien.
Oh, that's kind of you to say. Now, I'm going to keep your secret. Although, it's not as if I'll remember this next time we talk anyway, right? Oh, and if our conversations ever start to annoy you, just tell me you're busy. I know when I'm not wanted. May fortune smile on you, friend.
Je t'en prie Galerius.
Salve again, my... Now,
Quelle est votre histoire, Galerius?
well, it's a long one and kind of sad, but I don't mind telling it.
Faut pas que j'oublie de récolter les informations pour Equitia. J'ai le temps.
I'm a farmer. Always have been. I grew up in a small village in Britannia, Camulodunum, with my parents and two little sisters. Lovely part of the world. One day, when I was about 20, my father and I were in the top paddock, loading our cart, when some Roman legionaries came along, demanding produce for their men. My father told me to run into the house for his axe, and so I did. I sprinted so fast I almost threw up, but by the time I got back, he was bleeding out on the ground, and our cart was empty. That was my first encounter with legions. My mother died of a broken heart soon after, and things went downhill from there. I took over the farmstead, but I was young. It was a struggle. More raiding started before too long. We'd come outside in the morning to find animals missing, our stores pillaged. These legion thugs just took whatever they wanted. One night, when my sisters and I had nothing left to steal, there was a knock at the door. I knew who they were, and what they wanted. I got my father's old axe, pulled the door open real quick, and before that soldier knew it, split his face right down the middle. But there were more of them. I never saw how many, because the next thing I knew, I was waking up with a mouth full of dirt and lungs full of smoke. My home was reduced to ash. My sisters, dead. And they left me alive to see what they'd done. Still burns whenever I think about it.
Elle est horrible votre histoire, Galerius.
Yeah, well, I wasn't the only one this happened to. It wasn't long before Boudica led thousands of Britons in a rebellion against the Romans. Unfortunately, there were just too many of them. And those of us who survived, they enslaved. So, then I found myself being transported all the way to Rome, to be sold to the highest bidder. I spent a few years working for my new master, learning the Romans' ways, Romanized my name and everything. Tried to escape a couple of times, but they always found me, and I'd just end up right back where I was. I'd probably still be there too, if it wasn't for the stampedes breaking out. You see, about 7 months ago, an enormous fire broke out in Rome. Everybody was running down toward the river, screaming and shouting. I'd never seen anything like it. Human beings acting like cattle. I got swept up with them somehow, and the rest is a blur. The next thing I knew, some stranger was dragging me out of a river. Stumbled across this place and started my life over again.
Ah mais c'est exactement comme moi. Hein. C'est bien qui finit bien alors.
That's what I thought too, for a while. But it seems the gods aren't done tormenting me yet. See, I finally had my own farm again, safe from the grasping hands of the Romans. Or so I thought. Until Sentius the Decurion demanded I hand over all my produce. It's for the good of us all, he says. Only he takes the best bits for himself, of course. He even told me if I refuse his demands, I'll break the golden rule. I'm not sure I believe him, but then, what if he's right? So, it turns out our dear old magistrate is no better than the Legion thugs who took everything from me. I'm right back where I began. But don't you worry, Nemesis is waiting. And he'll get his, one day. He'll get his. Forget I said that last part, will you? I get carried away sometimes.
Il en veut vraiment à quelqu'un quand même, Galerius, hein. Bien sûr.
Thanks, friend. I knew I liked you. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Was there something else?
Oui, bien sûr, vous connaissez un moyen de sortir d'ici.
Well, as much as I'd love to get out of here, the harvest's always more fruitful in another man's field, isn't it? But Scintilla, Sentius's daughter, went missing a few weeks back. Could be she found a way out. If anyone knows for sure, it'll be her sister, Sentia. But she'd never tell the likes of me.
Pensez quoi de la règle d'or?
Oh, I don't give it much thought these days. I mean, everybody here's got their own view about what we need to do to survive. But I say, let's spend less time arguing about what it means to be good and just get on with it, you know?
Et les élections?
I can't see how I could vote for either candidate. I don't like Sentius much, but Malleolus is almost as bad. Even I could do a better job. Me, a farmer. And I've never given a speech or put on a toga in my life.
Très bien, Galerius, je m'en vais.
All right, friend. Hope you find a way to...
C'est là que je me rends compte que je le connaissais pas vraiment, Galerius, alors que c'est la personne à qui j'ai le plus parlé. Il est sympathique en apparence, mais il cache un passé vraiment sombre. Salut, Equitia.
Hello? Hello?
Bonjour, Dully. Quelle est votre histoire?
My name's Dooley. I live here now because I got in trouble and they said they had to lock me up.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez fait?
I don't know. I don't remember things so good. I think it's just because I was looking for treasure.
Quelqu'un a cru que vous alliez voler?
Yes. But I wasn't. I was just looking.
C'est tout?
They said I did it more than once. But I can't remember things so good. Then they called me mean names. They called me a liar, Billy.
Un inconvénient?
Yes. They said I have to live here now and gave me this letter. But I'm not good with words. Do you think you could read it for me?
Bon, si je résume bien, le magistrat Sentius explique que Dully est emprisonné pour l'empêcher de s'introduire dans des propriétés privées. Eh bien.
does it say?
Envoyeur du lit. Il est marqué qu'ils vous ont surpris sur une propriété privée, qu'ils vous ont enfermé pour empêcher d'enfreindre la règle d'or.
My treasure.
Quel trésor?
My friend Hannibal used to look after me. He said he always would. But then, he died. It was very sad. He said, if anything ever happened to him, I had to find something very precious hidden away. He gave me this key and made me promise to keep it safe until I found the treasure. But I couldn't find it. All I remember is he said something about the cisterns. But when I went up to the high one, they put me in here. Now nobody looks after me. Except my friend Galerius. And Ek, the priestess.
Et Cutia.
She's a nice lady.
Si on vous donne la clé, je chercherai ce qu'elle... Si vous me donnez la clé, je chercherai ce qu'elle ouvre. Hein.
Hannibal said I shouldn't give it to anyone I didn't trust. But
Et sachant que dès que j'ai ta clé, je m'en fous après. Je l'aurai tout le temps.
then I would trust you a lot.
Laissez-moi parler de votre libération, magistrat.
Galerius already tried that. He said the magistrate wouldn't listen, no matter what.
Le problème, c'est que si je le libère, je vais enfreindre la règle d'or et ça, c'est pas bon. Il aurait peut-être temps d'avoir un nouveau magistrat.
Like Galerius, he's nice. I like Galerius. He made me a doll and everything. If you help make him magistrate, he can get me out of here, and I can give you the key to my treasure. Hannibal said it was in the cisterns. I can't remember what it was, just that it was way up high and very precious.
Je vais voir ce que je peux faire, bien sûr, du lit. Vous connaissez un moyen de sortir d'ici?
You're going to let me out of here? Really?
C'est ce que j'ai dit, je vous ai demandé si vous connaissez un moyen de sortir d'ici.
Please. I hate it here.
Ah, très bien, ok. Oubliez. Vous pensez quoi de la règle d'or?
You mean treasure?
Oh là 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 là. Oubliez. Je m'en vais.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, oui, c'est ça. Bonjour Equitia.
A new face, are they? And may Vesta watch over you.
Ah, j'oubliais qu'elle me connaissait pas.
To what do I owe the pleasure of this?
Je demande aux gens comment ils sont arrivés là et j'essaie d'identifier le fil conducteur.
Interesting. I'm not sure why you're telling me, but you've come to the right person. Did you find a pattern then? What have you noticed?
Alors certaines personnes ont mentionné une rivière, tout comme moi.
I understand many of our friends were carried here by a river current. What else?
Pas que, hein, ils ont également mentionné une personne inconnue sur la rive.
Yes, I also had such an encounter. What else?
C'est tout ce que j'ai pour l'instant.
There are definitely some common. Keep asking people how they wound up here. I don't want us to rush to any conclusions yet.
Très bien.
His fate weighs heavily on my mind and dictates
C'est ce que je vais faire, je m'en vais.
back to me.
Ok. Donc, élire Galerius, ce serait peut-être pas une mauvaise idée, hein. Au final, entre les deux qui se battent, là, sa candidature sera un... Bon, par contre, il sera outsider. Mais ça peut se jouer. Ah, le théâtre. Hein. Attendez. Je vais pouvoir grimper sur ce lierre. Bien sûr. Oh oui. Beaucoup de deniers. J'en ai combien sur moi? J'en ai plus de 2000. Je pense que je peux payer le Ulpus pour qu'il puisse avoir sa liberté, il me semble. Si je peux l'empêcher de se suicider. Maintenant. Salut ordure. L'assassin.
Salve.
Personne. Salut Georgius.
A fellow traveler from a faraway land.
A good feeling all. That's a shame.
J'essaie de parler à Ulpus. Et avant tout, j'aimerais bien trouver cet homme à qui je dois lui dire pour les rhumatismes. Je ne le trouve pas. On m'avait dit qu'il serait à peu près ici, mais... Ouf. Allez, sprintons un petit peu. On vient voir, je crois qu'il y a ici que j'ai pas été. Non, ici c'est le palais, j'y suis déjà allé, bien sûr. On va monter là-bas, du coup. Je crois que Ulpus ne s'est pas encore suicidé, je le vois d'ici. Il va pas tarder, faut vite que je me dépêche. Ulpus, non pas maintenant.
Salve, friend. Welcome to life under the
J'ai pas le temps, Octavia, je vais bien, merci. Il faut vraiment que je parle à Ulpus.
Well, it was lovely to meet you.
I can't believe this is how it ends.
Oh no. No. No, 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 no. Orpheus, what are you doing? Get back from there. If you lose your balance, you'll fall.
That's the idea.
What? Why? Why would you want that?
Why do you think I'm stuck for the rest of my life working for a man who treats me like an animal?
I know things are hard for you right now. They're hard for all of us. We're all in this together, Orpheus. Please just think this through. If you do this, it could be the sin that seals all of our fates. Is that what you want?
I'm sorry, but I just don't care anymore.
Please, Orpheus. Help him. If he goes through with it, it could be the end for us all. I don't know what to do. I've never had to deal with this sort of thing. Please, you...
Je vais lui parler.
Thank you.
Et à votre avis, Ulpus, est-ce que c'est ce que Santia voudrait?
You know about that? How is that possible? I mean, I've never mentioned it to anyone.
Vous ne croirez jamais si je vous le disais.
Well, if you say so. You don't understand. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want it all to be over.
Peut-être vous aider à régler le problème.
It's too late for that. Julia and I made a pact. And she's already swallowed hemlock this morning. If I backed out now, I'd be betraying her. I can't do that.
Lucretia peut obtenir du syphilium à temps pour lui sauver la vie, elle va s'en tirer.
Really? That changes things a little. But we're still in debt bondage to that monster. Unless you happen to have 2,000 denarii to pay off both of our debts.
Il se trouve que je les ai, Ulpus.
Really? Wait. So, I guess you'd want me to work for you then?
Pas du tout, Ulpus, vous serez libre.
You'd do that for us? A couple of complete strangers.
Bien sûr.
It seems today we're both blessed. This did not turn out how I thought. Thank you, friend. I never thought people like you existed.
Voilà votre argent, Ulpus.
I'll go and pay off our debts immediately. I just wish there was some way I could repay you. But I have nothing but the tunic on my back.
Ne vous en faites pas, Ulpus. C'est pas un souci.
I'll go and take care of things with Malleolus and tell Julia the good news.
Thanks again, friend. I'll never forget what you did for us.
J'ai besoin de te parler avant le plus par contre.
What you did was extraordinary.
Ah, quelle est votre histoire, Octavia?
In this place,
Tant qu'on y est.
the magistrate has me earning my keep by cleaning and pruning the gardens. It's not quite how I expected my life to go. I used to live in a lovely villa on the banks of the Tiber. I was even betrothed to a handsome young man from a prominent family. But long hours of menial labor for the good of the community has its own charms too, I suppose.
Comment avez-vous atterri ici?
Oh, much the same way as many of the others. When the fires came to Rome 7 months ago, my family and I fled for the Tiber, hoping to escape on a barge. We were among the fortunate ones with enough coins for passage, but unfortunately, there were a lot of desperate people, and they boarded before we could depart. A scuffle broke out, and I was pushed overboard. The last thing I remember was the water, rising up to hit my cheekbone. I woke up by the river, near that shrine, and stumbled across this place.
Le trou de mémoire comme moi, hein. Ça commence à être vraiment flippant.
Oh,
Ça me désole de l'entendre.
I'm sure it's all part of God's plan for me.
Espérons-le. Sur le sujet. Est-ce que vous connaissez un moyen de sortir
I'm
d'ici?
afraid not. Although I did once hear someone gossiping down at Aurelia's
Non mais
tavern.
Aurélia c'est une arnaqueuse.
In such rumors, but if you're desperate and wealthy, you could look into it, I suppose. If that doesn't work, then I suppose we're all stuck here until the gods decide our fate.
Merci mais c'est assurément une arnaque.
Oh, I see. Well, that doesn't surprise me. I'm sorry I even suggested it. I won't make that mistake again.
Bon, c'est quoi de la règle d'or?
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. I think about those words a lot. I'd like to think that if we all love our neighbours as ourselves and do to them as we'd have them do to us, then we'll all be fine. But on the other hand, I was always taught the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, and that all of us are born with a tendency towards sin. And that's where I get stuck. Is it true? Are we born with a tendency towards sin?
Je ne pense pas, les gens ne sont pas foncièrement bons. Les gens sont foncièrement bons.
You don't think that's a little naive? I suppose you've never seen what I've seen. Innocent men and women, torn apart in arenas while thousands of Romans look on and cheer.
Je ne regrette pas mes propos.
I wish I shared your faith.
Vous voulez dire que vous êtes chrétienne?
Please keep that to yourself. I know you're not from around here, but things are very difficult for us right now. There was a terrible fire in Rome last year, and our emperor decided to make us his scapegoats. There were executions. It was horrible.
Votre secret est en sécurité avec moi, vous inquiétez pas.
Oh, thank you. You have no idea how.
Je m'en vais, Octavia.
That's a shame.
Bon. J'essaie de reparler à Ulpius, voir s'il a réglé ses affaires. Allez. Wouhou. Super. Bon, le problème avec Ulpius, c'est qu'à chaque boucle, je pourrais pas leur donner 2000 deniers à chaque fois, il va falloir que je trouve quelque chose d'autre, c'est pas possible sinon. Hein. Allez. Et il fait toujours ses pompes, lui. Imbécile.
A golden bow, just like Apollo and Diana.
Très bien, elle n'est plus là apparemment. Est-ce qu'ils se sont enfuis?
Salve.
Salvé.
Ah, a new face. Salve, and welcome to a little community. My name's impossible to pronounce for most people, so you can just call me Virgil. I hear we have you to thank for saving Julia's life. I'm glad you arrived when you did.
Je vois que les nouvelles vont vite. J'ai remarqué le graffiti. Pourquoi vous accusez-t-on d'être un pêcheur?
Look, I haven't done anything wrong, if that's what you're thinking. Somebody just has a problem with my preference for male company.
Ah, il est homosexuel. Vous aimez les hommes?
Hey, nothing gets by you, huh? Sorry, that was mean. Yes, I like men. And when you grow up in the north, as I did, in the city of Noviomagus, you expect a bit of hostility. The Batavi are not known for their tolerance. I saw enough friends killed or driven away to know the cost of not keeping your personal affairs to yourself. So I hid who I was for, what was it, nearly 10 years? Watching what I said and where I looked. But that kind of fear eats away at you slowly, until living isn't any better than the thing you were afraid of. Needless to say, since I'm now living underground, halfway across the known world, with an assumed name, my openness didn't go down well among the enlightened folk of the Batavi.
Ça me désole de l'entendre.
To say, but not necessary.
Et à notre époque, ça reste un sujet assez compliqué, malheureusement.
And among them, I get to be who I am. Or at least I thought that was the case. It seems I was wrong.
C'est vous qui écrit les graffitis?
It's not just graffiti. I have quite a collection of handwritten notes too. The strange thing is, I keep my personal affairs to myself. I've never really been interested in any of the men here. Not my type. So I'm not sure what I could have done to upset this person. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably one of those cultists.
Une secte?
Strange bunch. They insist there's only one God, and that he considers my nature a sin. Can you believe that? If there are any of them here, they won't admit it. Not since they supposedly burnt down half of Rome last year and went into hiding. All I know is, if these threats keep escalating, eventually my secret admirer is going to cross a line and break the golden rule.
Ouais, c'est vraiment dangereux. Faut vraiment que je m'en occupe de ça aussi. Laissez-moi enquêter pour vous.
What? Really? I didn't expect that. But thanks. It's always a pleasure to meet someone so selfless. I'm glad you arrived when you did. I'd start by figuring out who the cultists are. Or maybe ask around among the merchants here. Someone who lives or works in the forum must have seen something. But if you find them, please don't hurt or humiliate them. I suspect they're just confused.
Je m'en occupe, je vais voir ce que je peux faire, vous inquiétez pas. Racontez-moi votre histoire.
Well, I'm an architect. Or at least I was back in Rome. That's probably too grandiose a term to describe what I do here. Help out with repairs and try to stop old buildings from collapsing on people. That kind of thing. But you probably don't want to hear about the ingenious architecture or mysterious history of this place.
Parlez-moi d'histoire de la cité.
Oh, I'm glad you
Je sens que je vais regretter.
Some of these shrines were constructed hundreds of years ago, which means the Romans have been arriving here for at least that long. But there's one thing that puzzles me. The oldest shrine in this avenue isn't Roman at all. It's Greek.
C'est normal pour les Romains de copier l'art et l'architecture des Grecs, non?
Well, yes, that could be the reason. Or it could mean that there were Greeks living and worshipping here before the Romans arrived. Which begs the interesting question, who really built this place? And could it be far older than any of us imagine? If only there was a way we could talk to the people who came here before us.
Parlez-moi de l'architecture de la cité.
Gladly. Personally, my favorite thing about this place is the aqueducts. Those series of adjoining arches. They're an ingenious feat of Roman engineering with a very practical purpose. They take fresh water coming from outside the city and distribute it all across the chasm. It's funneled below the palace and into a cistern beneath the great temple. Some of it
Sous le grand temple, la citerne, c'est ce que je voulais entendre.
The villas, and the rest is funneled to the shrine of Proserpina, where it fills the lake. and allows us to fish and farm.
Si des gens apportent de l'eau dans la cité, ne peut-elle pas servir pour s'enfuir?
Hey, not so loud. Just talking about that could anger the gods for all we know. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you'd have to find a way inside somehow. Just, please, try to be a bit more discreet.
Bien sûr. Ah ouais, il tombe sur la falaise.
The Great Temple? This one's a bit of a mystery. Given the way it's positioned so prominently, looking down on us, it's clear that whoever built it felt it was the most important temple in the city. Unfortunately, someone else went out of their way to keep its purpose a mystery. You see, usually a temple is dedicated to a particular god, like Proserpina or Diana or Apollo. Usually, that god is obvious. There's an obelisk out the front, which probably used to bear the name of this unknown god. But it appears some barbarian defaced it. And of course we can't get inside because it's locked up tighter than the Temple of Saturn in Rome. And that contains the treasure, so we're all left wondering, which god is that temple dedicated to? And could it be the one responsible unless somebody figures out a way inside? I suppose we'll never know.
C'était intéressant en tout cas, changeons de sujet. Mais si vous connaissez un moyen de sortir d'ici du coup.
You wouldn't believe how often the new ones ask that question. But I tell you the same thing I tell everyone else. There are much worse places to live out your days. You might have a few sleepless nights thinking about the golden rule, but once you get used to the fear, knowing that a single slip-up could cost you everything, it's not too bad.
Vous voulez dire quoi?
Oh, I just mean I grew up in the Batavi tribe, far to the north in Novio Magus, and learned to expect a bit of hostility. They weren't nearly as tolerant as the Romans.
Très bien, vous pensez quoi de la règle d'or?
Some people say it's divine, the work of a god, but I'm not so sure. I mean, once you've been here long enough, you'll notice people doing things that just seem so wrong to you. But this so-called god doesn't seem to, which means one of two things. Either you don't know the difference between right and wrong, or this unknown god does, and I'm pretty sure I know the difference. Do you?
Je n'en sais rien, mais je pense que oui.
Good. Then I hope you'll agree that there are only two ways of dealing with unfair. The first is to leave. The second is to remove the ruler from power. And it seems leaving may not be an option.
Comment retirer un dieu du pouvoir?
It's best if I say no more, but
Vous avez voté pour qui?
Malleolus is talking about loosening some of the restrictions in this.
Faire quelque chose pour changer cela?
My vote isn't for sale.
Ah, très bien, je m'en vais vers Ville. Sympathique également ce Virgile. Bon, il y a tellement à faire, mon dieu. Je vais finir par parler avec Tia parce que les trous de mémoire sont assez fréquents.
Again. Did you find what you need?
Nom de gens comment ils étaient arrivés ici, Equitia. Certaines personnes ont évoqué des trous de mémoire.
That's true. I know I
Tout comme moi.
wasn't entirely sure how I wound up here. It's as I feared. I think I understand what poor Livia has been going through. Let me ask you this. Did you happen to encounter a
Mais oui, une femme.
Did you happen to catch her?
Oui, Karen.
I see. And was this Karen by any chance wearing a hood?
Oui, elle portait une capuche, oui.
Because I've seen her before. There's something I think you should see. I think you'd better follow me to the baths.
Très bien, je vous suis, Equitia.
Follow too closely. We can't have people thinking we're bathing together.
C'était pas mon intention. Et là, vous avez piqué ma curiosité, Equitia.
Ah, a fellow traveler from a faraway land.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle va bien m'annoncer? Pourquoi on va ramener ici, Equitia?
All right, you're here. You were asking how I knew the young woman you met by the river was wearing a hood. Here, look down at the bottom of the baths. It's a little hard to make out in this light. If only we could see. Oh, what a marvelous lamp. But do you see it? Somebody waking up by a river in a forest to find a hooded figure with a coin. It's just as you described it, only your pronunciation is a little off. The name you heard wasn't Karen.
Pardon?
It was C-H-A-R-O-N, as in Charon.
Charon?
Ferryman of
J'ai mal
the
compris.
Charon, who in exchange for the right coin, helps the souls of the newly deceased cross the Styx, the river that separates the land of the living from the land of the dead.
When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up. I checked your pockets for ID, but all I found was some loose change. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Sorry if I sounded cagey.
Bordel, c'était Caron du coup?
I don't always get
Mais je pensais qu'il parlait pas.
when I introduce myself. My name's Karen.
There are a bunch of old stories about the gods punishing people by making them do the same futile task over and over. But on the bright side, at least you're not stuck in the underworld like they all were.
I'm so sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry.
Ah oui, j'ai tout de suite compris, ça veut dire que je suis mort. Et on est en enfer.
I'm afraid so. It's all starting to make sense. All these people whose last memory was running from the fires toward the river. It seems none of them escaped with their lives after all. Perhaps we should be grateful they don't remember their final moments. It also tells us that the Golden Rule is the work of Pluto, the god of the underworld, and why his epithet has always been Father of Riches. I know it's a lot to take in, and you look as if you have questions, so I'll try.
Ouais, là, c'est une bombe que vous m'avez lâchée, Equitia, là. Ça veut dire que nous sommes morts, quoi.
That was my first thought too. In the old stories, the underworld was where the souls of... But it was also possible for the living to reach it without dying, if they were particularly fearless. So I'm afraid I don't know.
Que pensez-vous que vous me dire sur Caron?
I'm sorry. I keep forgetting you're not from here. If you were Roman, or even Greek, you would know each of them is slightly different. Whether the storyteller was Plato, Homer, but they always involved the souls of the dead, meeting a grim ferryman named Charon on the bank of a river. It was said that he'd help the new arrival cross, only if they could pay him with a coin, an obol. That's why it was once our custom to bury our loved ones with a coin in their mouths. Charon's obol, we called it. Of course, an obol was a kind of Greek coin, because we inherited this knowledge from the Greeks.
Et pourquoi vous n'avez pas reconnu immédiatement Caron?
To be fair, the ferryman isn't exactly as the poets described, and he, she, they seem to appear to different people in different guises. You say you saw a young woman named Karen with a hood, and I once heard Kabash mention a stranger in a ram headdress named Kerti, and Rufius described meeting a stranger named Kumut Tabal wearing an eagle headdress. But whatever form this stranger took, they were always wearing a hood of some sort, and their name always began with a K sound. I suspect the only way you'll solve this riddle is if your paths cross again.
Ouais, comment je fais ça, quoi? C'est ça le problème. Pourquoi y a si peu de monde en enfer?
Question. Let's see. In the stories, Charon would always require a coin as payment for passage across, but that never made any sense to me. What does it... In our case, it seems Charon didn't take the coins we had. He or she merely checked we had one in our possession. So, maybe there's something special about the coins each of us had on us. That might explain why we wound up here, but so many others did not.
Ah, très bien, je vois. Et vous n'allez pas me cacher, vous voulez pas cacher cela quand même.
I mean, I had my suspicions, especially after Livia's ramblings, but I would never have figured it out without your help.
Très bien, mais je n'ai pas d'autres questions pour l'instant, Equitia. En tout cas, c'est
do
J'ai du mal à m'en remettre.
if we don't want to be cast into gold for eternity. We don't have much to go on, except the old stories. Hercules, the demigod and son of Jupiter. Orpheus, a Thracian poet. Sisyphus, a king of Ephyra. And Aeneas, a Trojan hero. Hercules was able to leave the underworld because he cowed its god with his strength. Sisyphus and Orpheus both relied on their wits instead. They persuaded the goddess of the underworld, Proserpina, to help them escape. And finally, Aeneas was able to escape with the help of a spirit guide. So it seems you have two options: to confront the god of the underworld head-on, or find a way to escape with...
Oh là 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 là. Et j'ai remarqué que vous évitez de prononcer le dieu des enfers, Hadès. Vous avez raison à cela?
All Romans try to avoid saying it, and the reason is quite... You may refer to him as Pluto, if you wish, but you'll only be calling attention to yourself.
Ouais, très bien. Pour nous échapper par l'entrée par laquelle nous avons emprunté?
Reasonable question, but the problem is, this place is fairly well designed to keep us here, and even if you could build a ladder big enough, just trying it would break the golden rule. We know...
Je préférerais m'enfuir de la manière la plus discrète possible, si possible.
As I mentioned, both Orpheus and Sisyphus were said to have persuaded Proserpina to help them escape. The problem is, those are the stories of a poet, a self-aggrandizing king, and a brawler. First, Proserpina. What we do, it's said, the god of the underworld abducted and dragged her here again.
C'est horrible.
It is. The gods are a mirror image of man. If the stories are true, I imagine she's as desperate to escape as we are. If she really did help Orpheus and Sisyphus, perhaps she'll help us too. The problem is, leaving that aside for a moment, there is also the possibility of a spirit guide. I don't suppose you've come across one of those in your travels?
Attendez, j'entends parfois les statues qui me parlent, mais à part ça...
And you're only bringing this up now? Then again,
Vous me l'aviez pas demandé?
worried I'd think you were as mad as Navia. Can you tell me more? Is it the same voice? What kinds of thing does it say?
Toujours la même voix, elle m'aide, mais elle est un peu cryptique.
Fascinating. Perhaps she's a benevolent spirit, or perhaps... Perhaps you're hearing the voice of Proserpina herself.
Ça expliquerait pas mal de choses, oui.
If she'd been abducted, it would make sense for her to speak in cryptic whispers to avoid detect. Tell me, has she told you anything that...
Pas encore, malheureusement.
Oh, I see. Well, let me know if you hear anything that might be a thread through this labyrinth.
Pour ce qui est de l'inventement,
Shh! Is everyone so blunt where you're from? Oh. That option would be the boldest, but also the only way to learn the truth about the Golden Rule. As I said, Hercules managed to overpower the god of the underworld, but he was a
oui,
demigod.
malheureusement.
My candor, but you are no Hercules.
Et sauf que Hercule, lui, il pouvait pas manipuler le temps. Moi, je peux le faire.
Are you telling me that you can? I won't pretend to understand exactly what that means, but if that's true, so, if you want to who knows? Perhaps your name will be up, but first, you'd need an audience with you-know-who, and for that, you'll need to enter the great temple overlooking the city. The problem is, the door has been sealed shut for as long as I suspect the answer lies in the desecrated obelisk in front of it. I'm not sure if you noticed, it looks as though somebody, or a series of somebodies, forcibly removed them, and in doing so, dishonored and angered our If you could recover and replace all 4 of those missing plaques, I imagine he might be willing to receive an...
Très bien. Vous pouvez me dire quoi sur cet obélisque?
It's the towering stone monument with 4 sides and a pyramid-shaped head that stands before the great temple. You'll find them all over Rome. But of course they were looted from Egypt many years ago. It seems one of them made its way here too, although how is a mystery. However, this one is unusual. in that each of the 4 sides is decorated in a different style. That means you'll need to recover 4 different plaques: Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and a 4th.
Oh, ça sent le début des embrouilles, ça aussi. Ah, est-ce que je pourrais trouver la plaque romaine?
Question. To answer that, we first need to ask who would have defaced. It would have had the god's name engraved into it, so it may be that whoever desecrated it, and there's only one group of people. There's a cult in Rome that often argued there is only one true. They've been known to start fires, as well as deface religious monuments whose existence challenge. If I were you, I'd go looking for them. Of course, they've all been in hiding since the fire, but I did hear a rumor they have a secret shrine somewhere in the city. Perhaps, if you could...
Ah, super. Et la plaque grecque?
No. But perhaps you should begin your search with the local Greek fellow, Georgius.
Ouais, Georgius, le fameux Georgius, bien sûr. Et la plaque égyptienne?
Kabash, our Egyptian resident, would be able to tell us. Unfortunately, he disappeared. But
Ah, super.
Aurelia is peddling rumors about him at the tavern.
Ah, Aurélia, non.
You could talk to her, or just take a look in his room.
Où pourrais-je trouver la mystérieuse plaque?
I'm afraid you're on your own with that one.
Très bien, changeons le sujet.
All right.
Et je vais devoir vous laisser du coup maintenant, Cutia. Merci pour tout.
As for Livia, it seems she's been shouldering the weight of this terrible secret all this time. Perhaps it would comfort her to know she's not alone.
Je vais d'abord discuter avec Livia.
In any case, time is of the may fortuna.
Très bien. Eh ben, je viens d'apprendre que je suis mort. Est-ce que je le vis bien? Pas du tout. Bon les amis, c'est la fin de cet épisode. On termine, je viens d'apprendre que je suis mort, donc voilà, forcément, un choc émotionnel, tout ça. Donc voilà, j'espère que cet épisode vous a quand même plu. Moi, les révélations sont ouf. Le jeu est très bien écrit, c'est impressionnant. Beaucoup de dialogue par contre, mais ça j'avais été clair dès le début du let's play sur ce jeu. Hein. C'est pas un jeu vraiment d'action, même si l'épisode d'avant c'était vraiment l'exceptionnel qui a confirmé la règle. Hein. Là, on est vraiment reparti sur de l'enquête pure et dure. Voilà, je sais pas encore, à mon avis là, on doit pouvoir choisir entre 2 fins, hein, une fin plus spirituelle et une fin plus action. Donc je sais pas encore ce que je vais faire, on verra bien, on va tâter le terrain. Écoutez, j'espère que ça vous a plu, n'hésitez pas à liker, commenter, partager cette vidéo si c'est le cas, vous abonner à la chaîne, à cliquer sur la cloche de notification. Moi je vous fais des bisous à la prochaine, allez des bisous, ciao, portez-vous bien.